We go down to the bantamweight division. The number one bantamweight in the world, 19-1, still on injury. Dominic Cruz, still waiting on when he might get back. Probably be the end of this year. Don't expect Dominic Cruz back anytime soon. Having problems with his knee, but until somebody beats him, he's going to remain at number one at 135 pounds. At number two is the UFC interim bantamweight champion, Hanan Barrow. 29 wins, 1 loss for this guy. Unbelievable. He'll fight Michael McDonald on February 16th for the UFC interim bantamweight championship. So Barrow defending his title on the 16th of February in London, England at what'll be UFC on Fuel TV 7. He remains number 2 in the world at bantamweight. At number 3, remaining there, is Uriah Faber. At number 4 is Brian Bowles. At number 5 is that number 1 contender for the UFC interim title, Michael McDonald. 15 wins, 1 loss. This kid is a beast. McDonald Barrow on the 16th of February is going to be sick. At number 6 in the world, Eddie Wineland. Wineland was number 9 last month, but with a split decision victory over Brad Pickett on the 29th this past Saturday night, Eddie Wineland jumps from number 9 into number 6 overall, as Pickett was number 6 last month, so the win over Pickett puts Wineland in at 6 and drops Pickett down from 6 to 7, which moves Ivan Menjivar down from 7 to 8. And you might say, well, why does Pickett jump ahead of Menjivar? Well, Pickett actually has a victory over Menjivar, so that's why he's at number 7 and Menjivar is at 8. So Menjivar drops from 7 to 8, and Scott Jurgensen drops from 8 to 9, while Bibiano Fernandez with a victory early Monday morning for Dream in Japan, he remains at number 10 as the Dream Bantamweight champion. Honorable mentions at Bantamweight going out to Antonio Banuelos, Yves Jabouin, Mike Easton, Takeya Mizugaki, TJ Dillashaw, Tyson Nam, Hugo Wolverine Viana, Edwin Figueroa, and Eric Goyito Perez. Makes sense to you, the Bantamweight rankings? Just one change there, Wineland jumping up and taking Pickett's spot.
Yeah, completely agree. I think it's really unfortunate with the Cruz's injury. It just seems like it's going to be Cruz and Barrow number 1 and 2 pretty much the whole year.
Unless somebody beats Hanan Barrow. Michael McDonald could take that spot. I'm not sure that Barrow wins that fight 100%. I think it's going to be a very tough one for Hanan Barrow, maybe his toughest fight yet. We go down to the flyweight division. 125-pounders, the number 1 flyweight in the world, is the UFC champion. 12-2, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. He'll fight 4th ranked now, John Dodson, on the 26th of this month. So the UFC flyweight title on the line on the 26th of January on Fox in the main event of UFC on Fox 6. At number 2 in the world is Joseph Benavidez. At number 3 in the world is Ian McCall. Now, McCall and Benavidez will actually fight against each other for the first time on February the 2nd at UFC 156. That's a good fight between number 2 and 3. The number 4 guy in the world is John Dodson, 13 wins, 5 losses. He'll challenge for the title. Dodson was actually 5th in the world last month, but he jumps up to number 4 as Chris Carriasso, formerly ranked at 4th in the world, loses this month via submission. Just on Saturday night, he lost to John Moraga via submission. So Carriasso drops from 4th down to 6th, and Moraga jumps up from 10th into 5th overall with a very impressive win. Moraga now 12-1. He jumps in from 10th last month to number 5 and bumps John Dodson from 5th to 4th. While Carriasso drops from 4th to 6th in January, we have Jussier da Silva Formiga jumping in from 9th all the way up to 7th as 14-2. This guy's only lost to the very best in Ian McCall and John Dodson, so I believe that Formiga deserves a better spot in the rankings. At number 8, Luis Gaudino. Gaudino drops from 6th last month to 8th this month. Darren Uyenoyama drops from 8th to 9th. And at number 10, dropping from 7 down to 10, is John Lineker. Honorable mentions at flyweights going out to Tim Elliott, Josh Ferguson, Phil Harris, Ulysses Gomez, and Yasuhiro Urishitani. So the win by John Moraga over Chris Carriasso really shakes up the UFC flyweight division, and I think that this is the most logical and sensical top 10 in the flyweight division that we've really put together since the beginning of this division. I think that when we started the top 10 at flyweight, we were still trying to figure out all the pieces and all the fighters and where they really stood. But now that we've had flyweights for nearly a year in the UFC, I think we really know where everybody stands. And I think that this flyweight ranking is pretty damn close to being 100% accurate. I'd say every other weight class that we do is 100% accurate as far as the rankings, but this flyweight one was still kind of a work in progress to really figure out all the parts. It's a division that you don't really see a lot of in the UFC, but I think this flyweight ranking is pretty much 100% dead on. So that's the new flyweight rankings for this month. I think it's strong.
It could easily change again, though. John Dodson has some nasty knockout power. He could easily become champion.
That would be cool. That would be cool to see. Dodson the Magician, a very exciting fighter to watch. Him and Demetrius Johnson is going to be a sick fight. You gonna watch that on January 26th on Fox? Why not, right? Rampage Jackson in the co-main event of that card. Let me tell you what's on that Fox card just before we finish the show here. Donald Cerrone versus Anthony Pettis also on that card, and Eric Koch versus Ricardo Lamas. So 2 top 10 featherweights in Koch versus Lamas, 2 top 10 lightweights in Cerrone versus Pettis, pretty much 2 top 10 light heavyweights in Teixeira versus Rampage, even though Rampage is number 10 and Teixeira is just an honorable mention, and 2 top 10 flyweights for the flyweight title. I mean, UFC on Fox 6, Demetrius Johnson, John Dodson. That's a sick fight card with some real talent, top 10 guys competing on that card. It's going to be a lot of fun, January 26th.